Hey guys. So I like philosophy. Um, so because there's so much stuff that you can learn and think and understand. Ultimately, it's like understanding things. Um, and one of the biggest things that I like understanding is what is responsibility and what does that mean? Uh, and because a lot of people are talking about Charlie Kirk, and they're saying that the things we say um, should not lead to things this way. And I agree. No one should have done that, but should is doing a lot of heavy work. And we're denying what reality is. Should is what we like and prefer, but that's denying what reality is right now and what happened, and not accepting it. I know that my psychotherapist has told me before that I think it was like Voltaire's friend or something like that said that the Statue of Liberty is awesome and should be and because it's on the West Coast or on the East Coast, but there should be another statue on the West Coast for accountability and responsibility, the Statue of Responsibility, because freedom without responsibility is chaos. And we understand that because in order to have our rights, our unalienable rights, we have to be responsible for those rights as well. And the very first one is freedom of speech. And people think that what you say does not mean you're responsible for the actions of others, which is half true. I'm under the impression and the belief and thought process that you're responsible for two things: your own life and your decisions. Going back to speech, and I hate bringing this up. So, the Nazis in 1940, Adolf Hitler, he specifically didn't kill any individual Jew in the Holocaust or in those camps himself, but he was absolutely responsible for causing all that from his words. Same thing with the people in Rwanda or the genocides in Guatemala and the things that are going on around the world. You are in part responsible for putting that out there. And now I want to talk about the Bible, Genesis particularly. This is more literary than spirituality. But what was the first thing that was created in the Bible in Genesis? The Word of God. A lot of people will think it's let there be light. Well, the very first action was the very act of speaking something into action. And looking at Genesis chapter, it's all about consequences. And in modern times, consequences, the word consequence has a negative connotation to it. But in its structure, it's supposed to mean the next sequence of events, regardless of it being bad or negative. Um, so with that, let's look how God, this God being, and not I'm not just like looking specifically only at Christian Bibles, modern Bibles, but also other parts where different iterations of the Bible of how the Garden Eden was created and this God being created all these people and stuff and everything, the creation story and the Garden of Eden. And in some cases, it took millions of years for Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. Um, and it took like God was this God being was telling the angels to watch, and in some stories it took an angel to go and pretend to be the serpent to tempt Adam and Eve, or it was God Himself that went and became the serpent to do that. There's different iterations, but this God being, a lot of time passed, and well, let me backtrack a little bit. The Garden Eden was supposed to be paradise, that all these animals can cohabitate without violence and etc. Adam and Eve can get busy and have no consequences of it, like no pregnancies. They could eat whatever and stay however beautiful they looked, and they were immortal in the Garden of Eden. And nothing really exciting happened other than just them living out their lives infinitely. And this is kind of why this God being wanted to tempt Adam and Eve to see not only if they had faith in God, but also to teach them that actions have consequences. And the action of speaking also has consequences. The lie. And after the temptation, what does this God being do? Now, let's step out and talk about like a parent with their children playing hide and seek. When you're looking for them in the house and can hear your child giggling in the closet somewhere, and you're like, oh, are you under the pillows? And you move them, and then you hear them giggle, and they go, no. And then you go, oh, are you under the blankets? And they continue to giggle, and they say, no. What does this God being, do with Adam? Adam, where are you? This all knowing being doesn't know where Adam's at. He knew he was coming to Adam as a father. And there's some denominations that say fire and brimstone and all this other stuff and wrath and kicking them out. But if we look at the literature, he doesn't do that immediately. He tells them that once you get out of Eden, you will have to be responsible about childbirth, about taking care of yourselves, how to like grow and raise cattle and crops and all this stuff. He's teaching Adam all these things and then teaching Eve all these other things. And in some literatures in these ancient texts, Eve was the first doctor. She knew herbalism and all this other stuff to take care of Adam. And Adam was the first agriculturalist. He learned husbandry and all this other stuff to raise all these animals so that they can survive at the Garden of Eden because they were no longer immortal. And taught them about childbirth because your actions will now have consequences. The act of lying, God told them, like, you do something and there's going to be something that happens afterwards. No matter what. Something happens, another thing in that event, in that chain continues. Consequence. And because Adam lied to God, there is a consequence to that. He goes, now I have to move you out of the garden. But here's the stuff to prepare you so that you can deal with it.